to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 217 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Stacey Merlo, and if you want to know more about taking the headaches out of life and having more good vibrations, stay tuned. All right, awesome.
It worked.
So this is a really exciting time. We have episode 217 here with Stacey Merlo, and you're coming in from sunny San Diego, and Luke and I are coming in from the grandest of all junctions, Grand Junction, Colorado. And we just want to really give you a warm welcome to our show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and you've been doing this chiropractic thing how long now?
20 years. Yeah, long time. Our office, Good Vibrations, just celebrated its 15th anniversary this month. So, yeah, it's been a minute.
So you are one of the greats. 20 years is legendary.
Thank you. It's humbling to even think it's been that long, but yeah.
And you started up in BC, right?
I did. I practiced in Vancouver, British Columbia for 5 years before moving down out of the rain.
And now you have beautiful 70-degree weather like 300 days a year. Yeah,
we're mid-October and it's still up in the high 80s this week. So we're getting our usual Santa Ana summer.
So how was that transition for you to be like coming from Canada and doing everything in the metric system to now being down here and doing everything in like our systems?
It takes a bit of transition time for sure. For sure.
Because I talk to a lot of Canadians and they blow my mind, like talking in meters and things. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't get any of that stuff. So
like the entire rest of the world does.
Yeah, we're just really strange down here in the middle between Mexico and Canada.
Right. Just doing it your own way.
So one of our favorite segments of this whole process of the Chiro Hustle platform is to ask for your story. And I know that you probably have a really awesome story that our audience doesn't know. So if you would just share your story and maybe tell us a little bit about how you got into chiropractic, and now that you're 20 years into being a chiropractor, I think that that'd be really helpful to everybody out there that's listening and everybody that will listen to this in the future. So Stacey, take it away.
Thank you, Jim. So like you said, I'm originally Canadian. So I went to actually chiropractic college at CMCC in Toronto, Canada, way back in the day, like started in the 1900s, which is crazy to think about now. But I originally went to university, studied biomedical science and minored in nutrition. And then I went to University of Toronto and pursued a master's degree in nutrition. And when I was there to put myself through school, I was really active in the fitness community. So I was personal training, teaching fitness, doing lots of activity to put myself through school. And I started to develop some shin splints, some knee pain. And I was living down the street at the time from CMCC, from the chiropractic college. And so I needed help because I was like, I got to work to put myself through school, and I'm not going to be able to continue to work if I continue to have this shin and knee pain. So I went and saw an intern at CMCC, and he was a fantastic intern. So lucky to have had some of my first chiropractic experiences with him. And like we all do, I sat down in the office and filled out my initial paperwork. And so I went and had a consult with him, and he listened really carefully to what I had to say. And he's like, yep, I definitely hear you. And I definitely know that we can help you with your shin and knee pain. He said, but I see when you filled out your health history that you also suffer from headaches. And I said, yeah, but headaches are normal for me. I'd grown up getting headaches. I'd had headaches my whole life. I'd inherited them, of course, from my father, who also suffered from headaches. And so I just had resigned to living with headaches. I had Tylenol with codeine. I throw it in my backpack and continued on with life. So that was what I knew to be normal for me. And so he said, well, we'll help you with the shin and knee pain. He said, but I'd also like to adjust you and see if we can help you with your headaches. And I said, sure, that was fine for me. Now, side note, being a CMCC intern, I had a clinician that came in who tried to dissuade me from getting my neck adjusted because of all the risks that are associated with neck adjustments. But I had so much faith, and I had such a great intern, and he had such a strong belief and faith in the chiropractic message that I was like, no, let's do this. I want to see how we can affect the health of my body. And now I went from 3 or 4 headaches a week to now I get a headache maybe every 6 months. And it radically transformed my life. Who I am now in a career, as a wife, as a mom, as a daughter, friend, all the things I can do. Because I would literally have to go home, lay in bed, no lights, no sound, for hours or days at a time. And now to not have to do that completely transformed me. And so having a passionate intern living down the street from the chiropractic college, I started to go and listen in to chiropractic speakers. So we had some of the greats of way back when in those times come to the chiropractic college. So I started to get dipped in the chiropractic philosophy. And once I was around the other chiropractic students and in that philosophy, I really felt like I'd found my home, and so then I applied and ended up going to CMCC and getting my chiropractic degree. And that was huge for me. I know CMCC is not necessarily at all principled, but for me, it was the community that was there at that time. We had the John Minardi's and the James Chestnuts. Sorry, your names are so similar. I hadn't thought about that before. The James Chestnuts, those kind of people there. And then we were learning from the Liz Anderson Peacocks and the Jim Thompsons and all those great people came. Fletcher was there. He came and spoke. I was talking to Pat and Lori Gentempo, and Pat was up there speaking. So I had the opportunity to learn from really, really great chiropractors along the way. And so then when I graduated, I practiced for 5 years in Vancouver, British Columbia. Met my hubby, who was already practicing down here, Joe Merlo, and moved down here and been practicing here now for 14 years. The practice celebrated its 15-year anniversary. So that's kind of my journey and how I arrived here.
Yeah, I have a similar story. I used to get chronic migraines as a 7-year-old, and I pretty much had those my whole life until getting adjusted started helping them go away. And I don't get headaches anymore now either.
Yeah, and I laugh because I said I inherited them from my father, who is now under chiropractic care. And we laugh because we're like, we didn't get headaches because we had a shortage of Tylenol in our system, right? There was something else going on. We just didn't know there was a solution for it at that point in time.
Yeah, and your stories, both of you telling the story of the headache scenario, a lot of times people don't realize that chiropractic care delivers such a high percentage of recovery from headaches. And people think, just like you, that headaches are normal. And, we kind of learned that in our lexicon talking chiro talk. But so many times people think that they just are supposed to deal with this stuff long term. Yeah. And they just don't know what to do for it. So, you're saying, I have my Tylenol in the bag, and, whenever it comes on, this is what I do. And that's kind of the truism that most people believe, that that's how you deal with headaches. And just the core word of headache sounds awful. So I can't imagine what you and Luke have had to endure and your father's had to endure, because I probably had maybe 5 headaches my entire life. Wow. And so when I hear people that have that as a symptomatology, and it must be something that's just awful. I couldn't even imagine.
No, it's so awful. And I have so much empathy for people now who come into my office. Easily in my 20 years of practice, I've easily seen 200, 300 patients with headaches, that have come in, and that's their chief complaint. And without a doubt, we help them resolve that. I have zero hesitation, no question in my mind. When someone comes in complaining of headaches, I'm like, we got that. That's easy. We deal with that all the time. And we get to ease suffering and transform people's lives all the time. And it's amazing.
Yeah, for me, when I hear the solution-based care of chiropractic, people don't really understand that it's not a headache, it's an atlas or an axis. And then when you adjust that one of those two segments, the headache is something of like a past memory. And I'm sure you've asked those people that come in, you're like, hey, do you remember what you came in for originally? And they're like, you know what? I just feel good now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because we get that all the time. And when we do progress exams, we actually take in people's initial paperwork with us all the time, because they'll be like, oh, I feel good. I don't really know what's changed. I'm like, oh, so how are the headaches that you were getting like 3 times a week for the last 6 years? They're like, oh, you're right. I don't even remember the last time I had a headache. And it blows my mind that people, that's human nature, though. I guess we just are moving forward, and that's great. And they're not holding on and carrying that baggage anymore. But yeah, it's amazing when people forget, or they're like, oh yeah, that sciatic pain, I totally forgot I was having sciatic pain. I just feel so good now, which is awesome. It's awesome to see that.
Yeah, and that's the game changer when it comes to why chiropractic is such a beautiful profession, because people don't really understand why they should be going to the chiropractor. And they don't really understand, like, are you going to get me over something or off of something? Yeah. And that's the real truth behind like the adjustment is it's the locate, detect, the analysis of that spine. And then you set up the plan. And then before you know it, when you do that progress exam, the person's like, I don't even remember what I came in here for, but I feel good. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about the chiropractic profession, of why I fell in love with the process. And I think that most people, like when we talk about like how the public thinks, they're like, yeah, I'm going to go in for that 1 or 2 miracle like adjustments. And, that chiropractor is going to change my life with one adjustment. And then you have to sit them down and be like, look, you came in here with this, and this, and you think that that's going to like resolve with 1 or 2 adjustments. It could. But we really want to get you into a state of like health and a state of balance. And we want to make sure that you have like a better future. And I think that that's like the real method and message behind chiropractic that the general public just doesn't quite get. And they think that they're just going to go get the chiropractic adjustment thing. And all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh gosh, I got that adjustment thing and I'm great now.
Yeah. It's a one-time quick fix. Yeah. In our practice, we've really evolved to doing sort of immediate short-term and long-term goals with people. And their immediate goal may be to get out of pain. And I would say even in our practice that's 15 years old, that's very wellness-based, I would still say 8 out of 10 people are coming in because of some kind of symptom, sickness, or disease. And so what are their immediate goals? No more headaches, no more back pain. And then what do they want to get back to, or what are the intermediate goals? So like being able to play with my kids, or being able to golf, or whatever it is, the things they want to get back to that they've stopped doing. And then what are the long-term goals? So what are those things that they never even dreamed they would ever do again, or ever had the energy? Like for me with headaches, it's like all the limitations I had in my energy levels and how I was feeling, like I couldn't have even seen or imagined what was possible for what I do in my life now. And so immediate could be 1 visit, it could be 15 visit, it could be 30, but like once we get there, and some people we do get there, like they had ulcerative colitis and couldn't eat gluten, dairy, and soy. And then they get adjusted and they can eat gluten, dairy, and soy, and it's like, okay, that's cool. Now what? Now, what do we want to get back to? And so we're always future pacing them as to what more chiropractic can provide for them beyond, because I don't want to put limitations on the healing process, right? Like healing, I do believe can happen instantaneously. Like I don't want to limit the results that they could get with 1 adjustment. But there's so much more in the real, as you know, the real juice in chiropractic comes from that long-term care over years, decades. That's where the real juice and the real transformation happens.
Well, you said it right there. It's the chiropractic phraseology of it gives people years to their life and life to their years. Mm-hmm. And it's about quality of existence at that point. Yeah, you can live crummy and go see a chiropractor once a year. Like, sure, they'll adjust you and you'll go see the next person. And I think it's about relationship. And it's about, being able to have that type of person, which is the chiropractic doctor, to say, hey, these are the solutions that we have for you. And I like that you do that, the short-term, long-terms, and future-paced goals for people. I think it's very valuable for people to think of their health that way, rather than, I'm just going to wait till like the tooth is ready to get pulled and then I'll go see the dentist.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to transition to a little bit is about your clinic, because I know your practice members will watch us interview and they'll be like, wow, Dr. Stacey, you're so awesome. But maybe talk a little bit about your clinic and what it means for you to have that type of practice that you guys run.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So our practice name is Good Vibrations Family Chiropractic. I co-own that with my husband, Joe Merlo. And we call it a health party, because it really is probably one of the most fun places to be. It's family based, so it's full family. When we were at Mile High a few months ago, I was chatting with Stu and Terry Warner, and I shared with them that within a week, my first week of chiropractic college, I went to my first Stu and Terry Kids Day America conferences. That was my introduction to chiropractic care. And I was sold completely my first week of chiropractic college. So I've trained, done all my ICPA stuff, like adjusting kids, adjusting babies, adjusting pregnant moms. That's my jam. Send those to me all day. I could do that till I'm 90 years old. Love it. And, but I realized that in my care, our real passion is adjusting full families. And so we get our greatest joy from adjusting multi-generational families. So the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the parents, and the kiddos. If we get those full families operating and functioning and their nervous system's clear and get them connected to source, the forward momentum and the transformation that we see in their lives is out of this world. And that's where over 20 years I've kind of evolved to. Because you have babies who can't poop, who aren't sleeping, who aren't breastfeeding, who are colicky, all the things. You can heal that and help that baby transform their life. But if mom's still not sleeping and she's got headaches and she's stressed out and her health isn't good, then the whole family isn't going to move forward to the maximum of their potential. So we are a full family office. Like I said, it's a healing party. So the front of our office, we've got bubbles pouring out into the street. A lot of people know us as the bubble chiropractors because we literally have a bubble machine that pumps gallons of bubbles out into the street. We have outdoor music. So we have upbeat, super fun music playing out into the streets. We have a high volume practice. We're in a converted kind of Spanish house. So the kiddos that come in, they're like, I want to get adjusted in the living room today, because it really does have a homey kind of feel to it. We have I don't know how many gallon 8 turtle pond in the back. So the kids come in and they get their adjustment, and then they ask for turtle food and they head out and they feed the turtles. So like I said, it's my husband and I co-own the practice. We have 3 associate doctors who are all rock stars in and of themselves, independently, but they wanted to collaborate and be part of a team. So they joined our practice. They are outstanding. We've got 6 CAs right now, and they are all rock stars. One of them will be a chiropractor in the future. Well, 2 of them probably will be chiropractors in the future. One is in chiropractic school right now. And they're just on fire and just passionate and committed. And there's tons of love. There's all kinds of, even with COVID, there's an occasional hug thrown in there, but it's just super warm and caring and compassionate. I had a new mom came in probably 2-3 weeks ago now, and her son is 19 coming in, rock star, elite level beach volleyball player who has a brain tumor. And she came in as a referral of another patient of ours who has a son with brain cancer as well. And she came in and we did our whole thing with her and him, and they had this whole experience. And she said, she sat down and she looked at her son and she said, so what I hear is she is going to support your body to be its best and its healthiest through this whole process that we're going to have to go through. And she's going to make it absolutely as fun as it possibly can be. And that really summed up our practice. I'm like, could I take a video of you saying that right now? Because that's really what we try to do. Like, healing and health should be a fun process. It should be a joyful place to be. It should be a place where people come and they feel like they're at home and they feel like they're with their community and their people. And I love that we've got, groups of moms who are connecting, who get to know each other, who can connect on health and health related topics. So it's just a really upbeat, fun, energetic, positive place to be.
So what are some mantras that you live your life by, or maybe some motivational quotes that keep you fired up every day?
It's going to sound really simple, I think, but for me, it's I am enough. And that's like the foundation that I start my day with, because I think that that's a wound that I had, and I think so many people out in the world have. I think it's a common thing to feel not good enough for whatever. Am I good enough to be being interviewed by these two incredible chiropractors in front of me, or am I enough to talk to a mom who's got a son who's dealing with brain cancer? So it's always starting with that I am enough, and then what is my next step? And I think I'm somebody who tended to get analysis paralysis, and I would have to see all the steps and have it all laid out perfectly before I would take that step forward. And I realized that, the real power, knowledge is great, but the real power comes with action. And so for me, it's like, what's that next action step? And just continuing. We're going to get knocked down. We're going to fail. We're going to mess up, but we got to brush ourselves off and then figure out what is our next step. So just to keep one foot in front of the other.
How do you think the world would change if every person started getting adjusted regularly?
I was thinking about that question, and I was thinking, would it be like chiropractic college was? Just spizzed up, happy, excited people to live life. Because I don't know about you, but my chiropractic experience in chiropractic college, it's kind of like this little microcosm bubble of people that are all fired up and they're getting adjusted and they're experiencing great health. So I thought about that. I thought it would be kind of fun if it was all like chiropractic college. But no, I do, in seriousness, I do think that my belief, I guess, in the chiropractic message is that we have this innate intelligence, right? And we have this life force flowing. And innate intelligence is perfect. And it didn't necessarily forget about the subluxation, right? So I think that by design, the subluxation may be there on purpose. And so if there is a purpose to the subluxation, what is it, right? So it's blocked, stored, unintegrated experience and information in the body. And then when we release that subluxation, that information gets integrated, and then the person's being, spirit, body, soul can move forward and evolve and transform. And I think if everybody in the world started to heal and transform at that rate, that we would evolve in such a beautiful way, however, spirit. And of course, we're connecting man, the physical, with man, the spiritual. And so I think that if we're more connected to spirit, we're going to evolve in the way that God intended us to, whatever that looks like. I have no idea. But I think the level and the rate of transformation would be pretty cool to see.
Well, I acknowledge you for the answer. There's so much to be said about if people were just getting seen by a chiropractor. And we've had so many times where we've had this conversation about what would it be like. Sometimes we get BJ Palmer's Utopia. Sometimes we get we clear out the asylums and the jails. Sometimes we get that the kids would be healthier and it's easier to make healthy children than fix broken adults. And I really think, as you've noticed when you went through your education, that when people are getting care, it's a stressful situation, obviously, going through chiro school and to become a doctor. But when you're getting care and people are actually, seeing the staff doctors and getting adjusted and going to their groups and doing their training, and they're on that level, you can tell there's a different vibrational frequency of that group of people. And a lot of times, just like you would probably notice too, having a pediatric background, when kids get adjusted, they just have a different frequency that they vibe on. So when you call yourself Good Vibrations Chiro, like there's a lot to go with, like when you can notice a certain group of people that vibrate at a different frequency because they're not dealing with the discontentment of not having a connection with their body. And I think that that's really where it comes into place, is that the frequency of the body changes and the frequency of the relationship with self changes, the frequency of the relationship with others change. And I think that that's really what BJ Palmer's big idea was if we can just start getting people to be checked and adjusted, then we're going to be able to change the trajectory of the future of humanity. So it's a very simple question with such a big concept of an answer around it. But yeah, I thought you answered it so perfectly, because when you do go through your program, you notice that the people that are getting adjusted just act different. And it's not that they're under any less stress. They're probably under 10 times as much stress as everyone else.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you just reminded me of, like, we take care of a lot of special needs kids, whether it's ADD, ADHD, whatever labels, autism that you want to put on it. And one of the cool things that a lot of moms come back to me and say, and I just had a little girl who said the same thing. Mom was wanting, for behavioral things, so temper tantrums and focus on all those things to shift. And she said, one thing that was so unexpected to me is that my daughter never liked physical affection at all, ever. She was not snuggly. She didn't like to hug. She didn't like to be held. She was very distant from that. And I hear this time and time again with our kiddos, is all of a sudden that she's like, she called herself like a human teddy bear now. And she's like 7, but she's like, I just love to be held. And I had another little boy, and the grandparents didn't know anything was changing. Mom started bringing him in, and they're like, okay, what did you do different? And she said, why do you ask? He said, because he runs in and gives us hugs now, and he never hugged us before. And we think it's just because we're crazy chiropractors that we love to hug everybody. But I really think that we're like hardwired for that connection and that love. And we would be so much more caring and so much more compassionate as human beings if we're getting adjusted, because then we're just so much more connected to ourselves, connected to our source, and thus connected to the world around us.
And hugging and affection is something that's real. And that's why I love the idea of having a family practice. And I think that that's so important to have that type of just connection with community. And I think it's so beautiful when chiropractic gets to that level of connecting the person back, even if they are labeled as anything. Like when you start getting care, you could have a shyness to you, and that starts to develop and it goes away. Now you become more extroverted. You could have, I didn't study well, I read well. And now you're getting adjusted regularly, and your perception on education changes. So yeah, it's amazing. And especially when there's a special needs situation, when you start adjusting and like whatever it is, a spectrum or like a condition or some type of symptomatology, and you start giving care to that group of people, they start to just, it's like watering a flower that's dying. And you start to, give care to that flower and nurture that flower, and the flower starts to bloom again. And I think that's so much about people, is they just think that it's a lack of a drug or it's a lack of whatever it might be, but it's really a lack of connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And these kiddos have amazing families who are there that are like pouring into them, that desperately want to connect to them, but they don't have a connection to themselves or to source. And so, well, they do, but it's weakened enough that they don't understand that connection to other people. And it's, they talk about self-love, right? You can't love someone else until you love yourself. Well, I don't think you connect to other people until you can connect to yourself either. And the more you deepen that self-connection, the more then they want to reach out and connect to the world around them.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
So where do you see the chiropractic profession going in the next 20 years or so?
I'm an optimist by nature. I like my rosy colored glasses. So, I mean, I feel like the truth will always win and the truth will prevail. And there's a lot of darkness in the world right now and probably has been for a long time. But I really see chiropractic as the leader and the solution out of this darkness. You know, it's such, like we talked about, it's such a tool for connection. And I think the more connected we are as a humanity, the more united we're going to be, the more we can let go of a lot of that darkness that's going on in the world. So, I mean, the need for chiropractic now is more than ever. And I think that's only going to continue to grow. I think we have to unify as a profession and come together and really heal the divide that we have within us so that we can move forward united on some common themes to move the profession forward and get what we know and what we've seen and what we've experienced out to the masses so more people know. Like, we are super, like, I know you guys are huge in marketing and we get our message out always on all platforms, you know, locally, because we're so passionate about it, you know. But one of my associate doctors brought, you know, we were celebrating, we hit some good numbers and some good milestones in our office, but she brought a stat to us and we were looking at our unique patient visits. And she was like, yeah, but if you look at the population of San Diego County, we're still only seeing 0.005% of San Diego County, you know, and we're like, oh, we got more work to do, you know? And so we just need to build a united, passionate, on fire team of chiropractors that are going to get out there and share the message to the world. Because I think the world, like we said about headaches, the world needs us. They just don't know what we do. They don't know about us. And we've hidden and we've tried to comply with our messaging. And we haven't really, as a profession, gotten the message out. And I hear it all the time. And people are quite angry when they talk to me about that. They're like, why, how did I not know this? I wish I would have known. If I'd only known, I could have done this early, you know? So they're upset with us as a profession. They're like, I had no idea that this was what chiropractic was. So I think there's a need more than ever to unify and then get a message out to the public so they have a concept of what is possible for them.
What you're saying, like, it really makes me emotional. And I really see that the future is really amazing. That's why I jumped in 11 years ago with the chiropractic profession. I dedicated my career to working in chiropractic because I saw something really special. And I saw something when I would go with the staff doc, I would go to the seminars and everybody would be on fire for chiropractic. And then I would work in the office and I would see how everybody at the clinic would really be inspired and like committed to care and everybody would understand it. But then if I went out to dinner and I told somebody I worked at a chiropractic office, they would like not really understand what the hell chiropractic does and why somebody should go see us. And they're like, oh, for people that like are in sports or somebody that's in a car crash or, you know, whatever. And it was always like bridging the gap to the public. And the public, like you said, they're just so misinformed on what chiropractic can do for them. And I still think that we're finding our voice. And that's what's so important about these shows that we do, because media leverage needs to be omnipresent. It needs to be front and center. And we need 500 more people doing shows like this to where we're actually disseminating more information day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, and we're getting our voice heard. And that's really what I looked at, what Luke and I started doing 3 years ago with this show was I was like, we're going to be catalysts. We're going to highlight this profession. We're going to interview more people than anybody else could ever do. We're going to outwork people. We're going to outmessage people. And we're going to become that beacon of light for this profession. Because I saw that what you were saying earlier, there was a disconnect between the framework and the profession from one to another. Instead of joining arms, they're like, well, you're doing it different. You don't do it the way that I do it. You went to that school. That's not how I practice. And it became this division. And really what we need is more unity. And there is this method, I think, going forward. I spoke in Boulder to the philosophy group here in Colorado like 4 years ago. But the talk was called Unity Through Diversity.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that we have to understand as a profession that each chiropractor does a little bit different, like you called it juice. They have a little bit different juice to themselves, but they also have to support the other one that does it a little bit different as well.
Yeah.
And that's when the voice becomes more unified and people aren't going to go say, gosh, I wish I knew about this. But I will say this too. I do think that marketing is getting a little bit more broad spectrum to where we can actually reach more people. And it's not so much of the old school, like you have to join a BNI and you have to do screenings. But I do think those are highly important. But now we have different tools. We have different resources. We have podcasts. We have ads that we can run on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. And I know we're going to ask you some marketing stuff here eventually, but just knowing what you shared, the profession, we are poised to help more people, serve more people, and to not be the best kept secret.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that with any crisis, there's opportunity. And I think that this is a huge opportunity for us to step up and step out and really share what we're about to the public. And I think it's going to come from chiropractors, but you made a great point, Jim, about sharing this podcast with my clients and my practice members so that they are better equipped to share the message going on forward. You know, like we had our 15-year anniversary, so we got really cute Good Vibrations shirts made and we all wore them as a team. And all of our, of course, practice members are like, where's my shirt? I want a shirt. I want a shirt because I want to be your billboard is exactly what they said. Like, this is my new biking shirt and I'm going to wear it when I bike the boardwalk so that everybody knows that I'm 75 years old and I'm out biking on the boardwalk because I go see you guys, you know? And so they're fired up. They want to be that like voice for us. And I think sometimes when it comes from somebody who's not a chiropractor, it carries even more weight than when we're talking about it, you know, because they're talking just based on their experience and the results that they've gotten and the transformation.
Well, the most powerful thing that you said there is if your practice members listen to this episode of what we are doing right now, they're going to be more inspired by you as their leader. They're going to say, wow, there's things that Jim and Luke asked her that we were not aware of about you. And then they're going to say, wow, the knowledge base that those guys over on the other side of the screen have about the profession. I don't know if you knew this, but Luke and I are not chiropractors. We're just, Luke's a filmmaker, I'm a journalist. So when your practice members listen to this, they'll resonate with us on this side and they'll be like, wow, those people are really well informed about what chiropractic is. And now I've taken away some information about headaches. Now I've taken away some information about the profession getting stronger. Now I've taken away some information about where the profession is going. And that might inspire somebody to say, you know what, Dr. Stacey, I have 25 people that need to come see you in the next 3 months. I'm going to bring all of them in because now I know that you are the referral source for everything.
I love it.
So could you tell us maybe who are some of your heroes? Who have you looked up to and who inspires you?
Yeah, so many. I sound cliche, but definitely my parents are my heroes. They definitely instilled in me a growth mindset, a work hard, a sense of hustle. My Chiro Hustle definitely comes from them. My husband inspires me all the time, Joe Merlo. He is also the epitome of hustle and positivity and just taking action and keeping going. So those personally are my greatest heroes. My kiddos are my heroes, the way that, like, I've got a 12-year-old girl who's total badass in her own right, and a 9-year-old son who's kicking butt, you know, in life. And so they inspire me to just stay curious and to just bring the joy to life and not let anyone take that joy and steal that joy from me. And then on chiropractically, so many greats that I've been able to study with. I am a learner by nature, you know, like the whole strengths finders, like what are your strengths learner is one of my great strengths because I just am like passionate about learning. So like we were just at Mile High with you, Jim, and just really always continuing to grow and learn, and chiropractic greats that I've learned from would be Jay Comerick, Arnaud Brunier, my Chiro Angel, Sue Brown. So those are some of the greats. And then as far as like someone who when you talked about sit down with, I didn't know if that was a live or dead question, but if it could be anyone, and I'm not a religious person, but it would probably be Jesus. I think Jesus was probably one of the greatest healers that ever walked the earth. And if I could study from Jesus and learn how to raise the dead and heal people and in a heartbeat, I would definitely want to sit down and know what he knew.
Someone else mentioned Jesus also, so you're not alone there. So what's some marketing stuff that you've tried in the past that maybe did not work at all to your expectations, and what did you learn from it?
To be honest, I don't think that there was, and remember, I've been doing this 20 years. So, I started out in the yellow pages. Like that was a real thing when I very first started and opened my doors. Like that's how people found you. They looked you up in the yellow pages. And one of my longest clients was my yellow page ad rep that started coming because she sold me my yellow page ad, So that's how dated I am. But I think if a marketing process, procedure, event didn't work for me, it was more me than the actual event. I think what doesn't work for me is over educating people. I think as chiropractors, we tend to get we come out and we're jazzed as a student and we've got all this information and we just want to educate. And I think that some education is good, but I think really there has to be a call to action, and knowledge is power, but I think the real juice comes in action, and we can educate all we want, but we've got to get that person in the door and we've got to get them converted to being a patient in our office. So I would say that for me, kind of talking too much doesn't necessarily work, and talk less and give more opportunity for them to take action.
Yeah, I think the conversation that you're talking about definitely takes nurturing. It definitely takes commitment, and it comes better with experience and time. And when you're first out and you're doing things, it's typically not the things that you're doing, it's the things that you're overdoing. And I think there's an old cliche statement that says too much pressure either makes diamonds or busts pipes. And sometimes it turns people off too.
True. And I think that I never stray on the side of too much pressure. I'm probably on the opposite. So for me, on my learning, I was like, I had to get out of my own way and just put myself out there and give and ask and an opportunity for people to experience what we have to offer.
Yeah. What you're saying is definitely something that the people are going to listen to this, and they're going to take some information. They're going to definitely say, wow, there are ways to mess up a good thing. And that's to, talk more than listen. And as we've interviewed a lot of greats, most people will say that, one of the things I learned more was to ask simple questions and take in the information, and then realize what it's like to actually talk to somebody than talking at somebody. And I think as a chiropractic student, or 3 to 5 years in practice, you're so ready to build a future and a practice in your dream that you're just so ready to just unload on anybody that will give you their ear and time, that you'll probably turn more people off than turn more people on. So, just being measured on the process and practicing and, doing a lot of reps on how you communicate your message across to somebody. I think that that's probably the greatest thing that anybody could ever do for marketing, is do a lot and learn how to have a conversation.
Absolutely. Not everybody wants to become a chiropractor, right? They may want to be a chiropractic patient or a practice member, but they don't all want to be chiropractors. And I think when we come out from school, that is the tendency to think I need to impart all this stuff I've learned in my 4 years of chiropractic college, and we need to simplify it, because I think they there's a stat where, and I don't know the exact number, but it's like, if you say a word that someone doesn't understand, they miss like the next 5 minutes of what you're saying because they get stuck on that one word that they don't understand, so you really have to look at, like, we have this beautiful message, but we can complicate it, and so how do we simplify it, make it so that they can hear the whole message instead of getting stuck on one thing that they maybe don't quite understand.
So what would be some advice you would give to a struggling chiropractic student who's out there? And do you think they should pick their school based on geography?
My advice is to train hard, to work hard. Becoming a chiropractor is a beautiful thing and a joyful thing. And it's something that I'm like, would never trade for a million years. But it's hard work, and I think that any school, even the school that I would recommend the most, is not going to give you a full and complete education. And I think you have to go above and beyond any school to really get the education that you need for practice. Some schools will teach you, like I went to CMCC and I'm so grateful that I did. I know the diagnostics like nobody's business, but I didn't get any chiropractic education there, but that made me, I was weaponized when I came out. Like I had no hesitation. Like I have cardiothoracic surgeons I take care of, oncologists I've taken care of, OBs, pediatricians I take care of, and none of them have asked me a question that was harder than what other students or faculty or clinicians at CMCC asked me. Like I kind of got my reps of getting beat up a little bit when I was there, and so it's really been easier for me. So I think it's the hard, easy principle. Like, do the hard work when you're in school. Get your skills where they need to be. Practice your communication. Refine your skills education-wise, communication-wise, and adjusting-wise, so that when you step out, you're prepped and ready to go and you're confident.
Great information. Great information, because those people that are working at your office right now, your chiropractic angels that are going to go off to school somewhere, they're going to watch this as well, and they're going to get some takeaways on what to pay attention to if they ever determine that there is a struggle involved with the education process. And then I know that you grew up, was it Toronto area that you grew up in?
Near Toronto, about 3 hours.
Okay. So you picked your school based on geography.
Yep.
Do you recommend that to the future chiropractor to say, I'm going to go there because it's close to home, or I'm going to go there because my chiropractor told me to go there? Or what's your take on that angle of the question?
I just say go where your gut and your heart are calling you to go. For some people, the right choice may be geographically. It may be that they need to be close to home because they have sick parents they have to take care of or whatever. Or it may be like, hey, I want to adventure and I want to go to New Zealand and I want to like experience something totally different. So I think what the right thing is. I think you need to do your research. You definitely need to do your homework and make that decision educated wise, not just default based on, oh, my location's here, therefore this is where I need to go. You definitely need to do your homework and know what feels right in your heart and your soul and where you're being called to. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend anyone, maybe I'll get in trouble for saying this, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going to CMCC if I were advising my chiro angels that are going to chiropractic college. But it was definitely the best choice for me. Like I said, I was so prepared for practice. I had to fight and gather information and evidence and all the things to get to learn what I needed to from CMCC. And then I think, like I said, I can talk to anybody and it's really simple and easy for me, so, and I had a beautiful, some of the best chiropractors that I know graduated from CMCC around the time that I was there. Like we just had this super tight knit group of people that were so on fire and so passionate that nothing was going to dissuade us from the message. And they're all out there kicking ass and taking names and doing great things. So that was, I know, where I was meant to be, even though it may not necessarily be where I would send someone.
I like the answer to that. And I really believe that there are a lot of powerhouses out there that might not have gone to the most philosophically based schools, but really the thing that you need is to become a chiropractor. And some people are born into chiropractic and some people become chiropractors. And I really believe that a lot of it's the skill set of the education and the resources that you are able to walk out into the world with and say, I can go do that. And that's what it sounds like your story is.
Yeah.
So I know that we're coming to the edge of our time together, but we want to ask you about some things that you like, not just chiropractic, but what do you do for fun? I know you have a big family, and I know that you probably are interested in different things, but maybe share with our audience today, like what are your interests, like books, what keeps you active, and just maybe give people some resources on you.
So for me, I do love to read. I'm an avid reader, and I'm lucky enough to have passed that down to my children, and my daughter is definitely an avid reader. So I've actually started reading a lot of children's fiction. And there's so many beautiful, simple life teaching in children's fiction. And it's such a joy and a pleasure. And it's something that her and I definitely share together as we read and explore the world through books. But we do a lot of, Joe and I do a lot of personal growth and development work. We feel like who we are as human beings and people precedes who we are as chiropractors, parents, significant others. So we're always reading. Right now, I think I'm reading Untamed by Glennon Doyle. It's a great book primarily for women, but it's really a great message for anybody. Brene Brown's one of my all-time favorite. I could read and reread and listen to her stuff all the time. So we've done a lot of work in the personal growth world, though, with the Tony Robbins, the Brendan Burchards, those kind of people, just to build ourselves as human beings. So I definitely think you can't work on yourself enough. So we love to do that. But recreationally, we're in San Diego. Like you said, it's like 75 degrees and sunny. So we're big beach people. We love to go to the beach. I am not a surfer. My kiddos are surfers. So we play in the water a lot. Since COVID hit, I grew up boating. And since COVID hit and we couldn't travel anywhere, we started boating. So we just all took up wakeboarding. So that was fun. Just in the last few months, we've started to do that. And so we've been just enjoying our time as a family out on the water. So peaceful in the San Diego harbor, just enjoying the warm weather and the sunset. So anything that gets us active, though, we love to. They play football, we do soccer, we hike, we work out, we do a lot of yoga, we're big stretchers. So that's kind of our family in a nutshell.
Beautiful.
So what are some websites people can go to if they want to learn more about you and your family or your practice or anything else?
I would say definitely find us on Instagram or Facebook. We definitely are posting all kinds of stuff, family-wise, practice-wise through there. goodvibrationschiro.com is our practice website. So you can find more information about us there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today and sharing your story. And you're definitely in the right profession. And you're doing great work. And I love your husband, Joe. He's a great man. And we resonate at a very high frequency together. And I appreciate everything that he does. And I appreciate everything that you do. And Luke and I just want to have you have a great rest of your night out there in beautiful San Diego.
Thank you. And thank you both for everything that you're doing to grow and develop and get the message of chiropractic out there. Having chiropractic advocates like you both is so priceless for our profession. So lots of love and gratitude to you both as well.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for being our guest this evening.
Thank you.
All right. See you soon. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.